Hey everyone! Thank you so much for tuning in for this video. I just wrapped up finishing the chain on this gorgeous pendant design. So in this tutorial, there's a couple different steps I'm going to be showing you. The star of the show is this gorgeous pendant from Patricia Healy. So this is copper and gems. Gorgeous combo, right? I'm going to be showing you how to do this embellishment for it, and then how to make your own chain and little dangles to turn it into this necklace. I'll give you a close-up view of this on the mat, and of course all the materials. But I just love the way it hangs and the way these beautiful gemstones glow and graduate up from the way that it's suspended is, I consider, pretty auspicious and lucky. I love the shape of it. So yeah, it's just really fun. The chain is intricate. I know it doesn't really jump out on this this view how it's made, but you'll see it's really easy and very quick. So let's dive in. I'll show you all the materials and how to get started. I wanted to show you just a glamour shot of the beads that I used and the components and the finished necklace all together, just because it's really beautiful to see it just all laid out. And I want to tell you more details about the gems themselves. So always the best part are the gemstones, right? So the gemstones you see here, I'm going to start with this beautiful blue strand. This one is a sodalite strand, microfaceted, and it is a little hair under 3 millimeters. It's, I would say 3 millimeters, the average size, but it's right around that size. And then these are slightly larger than that. If I had to make a guess, they're going to just be a hair over 3 millimeter, but they're very close. And these ones are a chrysocolla. They have a bunch of different colors, so they pull that blue together. Isn't that gorgeous? And the smooth rounds, 8 millimeter, how they like a layer up of beautiful stones. And so the larger rounds on this strand they're a mix. So they are a multi-gem strand that contains red tiger's eye. Let me pull one of those over. I want you to be able to see like more detail. So I pulled these out because they just really catch my eye. I love red tiger's eye. It's one of my favorite stones. But also on this strand are 2 different jaspers and a carnelian. So the red tiger's eye, the mahogany obsidian is the other one. So let me show you that. The mahogany obsidian is stunning. Look at that. It's like an incredible color. Let me see if I can highlight it on the strand as well. I think I mixed up a little bit of my tiger's eye with it. I restrung this after I took it apart so I could graduate my what's it called, my design. And so I took it apart. So what you're seeing here, I might have mixed up the red tiger's eye and the mahogany obsidian, but I feel like you can tell, like, there we go. There's red tiger's eye here and the mahogany obsidian. When you get your strand, they'll be color blocked like that in the correct order. And then this one, there's red jasper here. Actually, this is the red jasper. Okay, let me hold that a little closer. Red jasper there. And this one is the red sesame jasper. So red sesame jasper, red jasper, carnelian, and then the red tiger's eye and the mahogany obsidian. I knew I loved this strand. When I first saw it, I was like, ooh, love this. It's so pretty. And so you don't need many of them, but pull out your favorite when you get started making your necklace. So I want to make sure and specify correct quantities for all of the things that you're going to need. And the way I'm going to break up this video, I've finished filming all the little segments and attachments. And so I'm going to show you each piece. And then before each of those sections, I'm going to put a little screen up that says, make this many of that item. But in summary, you're going to need to make enough for this length here, which is about 7 inches on each side. So a total of 14 inches for this part of the chain. I supplemented that length with little 2-inch segments of remnant at the top, chain remnant, to make it a little longer. But you could make that chain longer, or you could add more segments to make different lengths. But I wanted this to sit kind of high up on the collar, so that's kind of what I was going for. And so let's get started on making. First, we're going to make this. And this is the Patricia Healy component. And then we do a little embellishment on it. That's so gorgeous. So we'll do this first. Then we'll dive into making the S-links. We'll make some jump rings together, and then we'll make the little mini faceted gem dangles for it. So I'm going to be using primarily some 20 gauge wire for this design. I'm going to use 20 gauge 99.9% pure copper wire, dead soft, 20 gauge. I'm going to also bring in some 24 gauge craft wire, and that's going to be for working on the component itself with the tiny gems. The other thing you might need is you could either make your own or you can use some ready to go head pins. The head pins are, in this case, they're 22 gauge. For some reason I thought they were a little smaller, but no, these are 22 1-inch copper head pins. Are actually quite soft and easy to work with. And so again, you can make your own if you like, but that's mainly what I'm going to be using. Give me a moment to clear these beautifuls so I can show you my tools. The tools I'm going to use, of course, we're going to need flush cutters. And then I'm going to be doing a lot of opening and closing of jump rings. So I like to use a square nose and a bent nose plier for that. I'm going to be straightening my wire a lot. So you're going to want to have nylon jaw pliers handy. And the star of the show today will likely be our bale forming pliers. They're going to be picked up and used a lot. So I'm going to be primarily using the 2 top sizes. And then last but not least, if you have tiny round nose, and that I find is easier for doing the little gems on the head pins, I'll be using a regular round nose plier for that. All right, so let's get started with creating the embellishment on our component. So for this, what I did in the original design, feel free to change this up, but I went with the 6 gemstones across the front. And actually, let me bring the original over so I can show you where we're going. I started to wrap using the 24 gauge, and then I started adding gems as I went. And it's just a little asymmetrical, pretty, just like pop of something while you're wearing it. And what you're seeing here is my half done. I haven't shown how to make the chain yet, so it's half done there. I'm going to be using, again, 24 gauge for this. So let's cut a length that will go around this component a number of times. So what I found worked is a little over 8 inches will give you plenty to make it around and have just a little bit of extra. Go ahead and flatten that out with some nylon jaw pliers. Make sure that's nice and smooth. And I'm just going to measure approximately 8 inches from that edge there. I'm just giving myself a little extra for folding it in. And so that's ready to go. So start with one of the ends and just lay it across the back. Now there's an asymmetry here, which I think really looks cool. And again, it's going to be just a little bit different every time you make it, but pretty close. And you can just kind of decide where you'd like your first wrap to start. And from there, just go ahead and lay it across. So in my case, I think I want to match what I did there, but just kind of say about there. And you do want to start on the kind of up high from, not at the middle, but up high, because this tight one is going to keep it up here. By making this loop a little smaller and it gets a little bigger and bigger every time you get towards the middle, that's going to keep it from sliding to the center. So start at the edge first. And I'm just going to move this up a bit and bend some of that wire back behind the component. So we'll get that. And if you want to take your fingers and go ahead and press, you can press that soft wire into the concave back of the component. And the component is very strong. It's not going to bend on you, so don't worry about that. If your wire's hanging over, that's actually okay. Before we get started, what I'm going to do is take some chain nose pliers and just bend it to the side like that. See, we're going to wrap over it on the back side of the component. So just hold everything like this and bring your wire around like that. And then just flipping to the front, I'm going to overlay my wire across around the back. And I'm going to stop right here. And I'm going to add my first sets of gems. So I did a pattern. I did a blue, green, blue. So here's a blue, green, and blue. And so I'll string these on. There's one. There's two. And three. So pretty. And if it moves on you here, don't worry. Just bring it back to the point where it was tight. Get those gems on there, just like this, and bring those up and over the front. And then just cross here at the back. You can hold that all steady. And then here at the back, if you want to, you can always press that wire with your finger to kind of fold it into the back side of the component. And if at any point while you're working you feel like you want to straighten out that wire, go ahead and do that. I have a couple pair of nylon jaw pliers next to me, always at the ready. So here's one. Two. And I'm going to go ahead and flatten that again and get another set of gems. So let's do two blue and one of those beautiful green. There's one. And two. And there's our last one. Oop, that one escaped. There you go. All right. So I've got this ready. I'm going to bring this up and over the front of the component. And then around this way. There's one. And our last wrap, two. All right. So everything should be pretty tight. If at any point you feel like it's not, I'm going to show you some tricks at the back to try to tighten things up. So sometimes that first one will loosen on you, but you can go ahead and just pull it through and tighten it that way. And then with this one, I'm going to bend it so that it goes underneath the wraps here. And then at this point, I'm going to do something with my fingernail, get it nice and tight. I'm going to press down. So press, that's the cool thing about this nice soft wire. Careful your gems on the front, but just press it with your fingernail and this will tighten it up at the back so that it'll stop moving around on you. And so I think I did a pretty good job duplicating that gorgeousness on the front. And then one other thing I did do, I think on the first wrap there, is I very delicately, trying not to in any way mar my piece, but just at the back here, just for some reason clicking that down just a little bit more helps. There we go, just to keep that in yeah, see now it's staying put. Perfect. All right, set that aside for now. So let's move into making the chain. This is going to be the part that takes a little longer, but it's a very simple set of, you know, components, I guess you could call it. And I have some made that I'm going to show you so you can see where we're going. I'm going to just dump out my little pile here. Okay, so, but for each side of your chain, you're going to want to use your beautiful smooth rounds. So I went with something like this. It's kind of dancing around there. So if you'd like your chain to be longer, you can do more. Make it a measurement for this version that I've got here. So I took it to 7 inches, and then I am supplementing with some just regular cable chain at the top of it, but you could always go longer. But this part will end up being behind your neck. So I just kind of thought we'll keep the decorative part to the front. So if you like that length, you'll have 14, basically you've got the Yeah, 7, and you'll have 7. So that'll give you 14. And you can just add, I'm going to actually be adding chain on both ends over here at the end. So planning out how many to make is kind of the only really thing you have to think about at this step. So make 4 like this. Then we're going to be making a bunch of these little S components. And these are going to overlap each other. And I'll show you exactly how to make these, but they link like that and lay on top of each other for a really cool look. Almost a little bit like a bike chain. So see how they look like that. Oops, sorry about the focus there. Yeah, so really fun, easy, cute, joined with a jump ring. And I made my own jump rings with the 20 gauge wire. I'll show you that as well. And then I dropped these little dangles of gemstone on those head pins I was showing you earlier. And that's all there is to it. So let's start by making these little components of 20 gauge wire. And that is 1 inch lengths. And then working with bill forming pliers, working on the smallest step, roll a P forward. So feel that that's flush there. Like that. And rolling forward, I'll create a little P. Now take this component and face that little loop shape towards yourself. Hold like that. Bring on your tool and bring the other end of that wire flush to the end of the tool here. So like that. And you're going to roll forward. And it'll make that little shape form. That looks like that. And then sometimes I come along with my square nose if I've got any concerns about them not being flat. And just flatten them. So let's do that one more time. Roll a loop. Face the loop toward myself and bring on the tool. Roll forward. You get that cute little shape. If you want to hammer these, feel free. I found them to be pretty strong even without hammering, but if you want to just put them onto a block and use a nylon hammer, you can work hard in those. Let's do a set of jump rings really quick. I'm going to show you how I did that. Start with your spool, the wire on your spool, and flatten out some of it. And you can even work from your spool if you'd like for making these. Working with the second size up on your bill forming pliers. And then also right before you get started, if you want to just trim that end to be flush. And roll loops. Start with 1 loop. And then just get the wire to coil. Stop when you reach where you started. And then trim the flush side facing. Trim it right there where the other ones ended. And already I've got a jump ring popping off there. And then right there. And then here I've got what looks like a split ring. So I'm going to trim that and get another set of jump rings. So in total for your jump rings, for each of the chains, I started with 2 jump rings here. And so this starts with 2 jump rings. And that was just style, but I also think it's cool because it dangles my little charm. So that was how I started the chain. The chain also does have kind of like a pretty side. So if you have your, if you'd like it to line up like this, you can make your simple loops kind of facing in that parallel Saturn look. and you'll get the front of the chain when you're wearing it showing those little overlays. So that's why I have 2 jump rings there. And then each of these is spaced with the jump rings. There's 1, 2, right? 1 and 2 here at the start, 3, 4, 5, and 6 here. And then it looks like I did end with 1 more of 7. So create 14 jump rings if you're making your own, or just find 14 jump rings that are approximately 5 to 6 millimeters. These are definitely a little closer to me, they look like a 5 millimeter jump ring. They're bigger than 4. But I was, again, just working on that second step of that bail former. And they're actually really nice, symmetrically speaking, with that chain. So I did that. And then the only other thing I need to show you are making the simple loop. So again, 20 gauge wire there. All right, and so for this section, again, we're going to need to make 8 like this, and then use any of the gems from that graduated or I guess color blocked strand that you like. And then again, I'm going to flatten out with some nylon jaw pliers before I trim it. This is very soft wire, so me just like handling it bends it. And for this one, you're going to want to go with 1.5 inches. So if you want to cut 8 at 1.5 inches, that should be plenty to make your simple looped gemstones. So you'll have that. I worked with the small step on my bail forming pliers just to get that nice and symmetrical look, and roll forward. So far this is looking like when we were making our little S-links, but before you take it off the tool, when you've got, hang on 1 sec, I'm going to raise the tool in case that's, yeah, hang on 1 sec, I'm going to make this higher. There we go. Okay, so maybe that's too high, but I want to show you, before you take it off the tool here, if you just flip it around like that, and then just bend this a little bit, and try to maybe close that a little better, and get a really nice wrapped loop. And so that is one side done. We can bring this down a little bit again. Grab another one of my smooth rounds. Again, this is 8 millimeter. And just go ahead and fold that wire over like that. And then when you look at this, look at this stone, 8 millimeters is a really easy one to get the 1/4 inch measurement on. If you bring your tool to sit as high as it can, like that, and trim it, you'll get about 1/4 inch like that. So again, just getting your tool to, and to show you, like on the stone, it's like a little past the equator, I guess, on it. So that's one way to look at it. And then I'm going to use the same small step on those bail formers and roll forward. So I usually get a pretty nice, not a tight one, pretty nice wrap loop in that way. And then I like to straighten out these. So I'll take 2 chain nose pliers. One, it's usually my square nose, and line them up just like that. Okay, last but not least, we're going to need to make a bunch of these. So for each chain, you're going to want a total of 5. And let me bring the other side that's done back over and show you. You have one that hangs right above the component. That's really cute. And then you'll have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if you're doing the same length as me, just make 5 for each side, so a total of 10. I'm going to make an 11th one because on my chain side that doesn't have my lobster claw, I'm going to put another dangle. So what I'm going to do is grab one more of those little head pins and string that on. There you go. And then just create a really pretty wrapped loop. You can go ahead and close these wrap loops if you'd like to. I'm going to be popping mine on the end of my chain in this case because I'm going to be adding it as a dangle there at the end. So just a chain remnant. And bring this around. You can also make your own chain by making your own jump rings. And a cute thing you can do is you can vary the size on those step formers and you'll get, texture chain. That's such another way you can do an entire chain, actually. So many cute things that could be done. And I'm just going to tuck the tail on this cute little wrap. So there's that. So you just want to make at least 10 or 11 if you're linking an additional one to the end. Just like that. So let's assemble. Got my 4 gemstones. I've got my jump rings over here. Okay. And then I've got all my little components here. So start by opening one of the simple loops. And I'm going to match what I did for my colors. So let's go with this one here. I did not a light to dark pattern for this one. I went with kind of a jump of, let me bring it back up. One of the lighter jaspers to one of the darker, tiger's eye, carnelian. Or I think that's the tiger's eye there. So I think I went tiger's eye with the second one. Yeah, so I think I did something like that. But it really doesn't matter. Just whatever you think looks cute. So let's go with this one first. Okay, and so the important part is you want them to be, see how when you lay these out, so you want to flip it like that. So they're kind of, the peas are facing each other like this. And so link them like that. So I'll go ahead and put this one on and this one on. And you'll be able to tell if you got it, because watch this, after you've got it hung on the gem, it should make this little crisscross thing. So just double check that as you're making your design. And now we need a jump ring. And first I'm just closing it so it's nice and symmetrical there. All right. So bring those on. And you'll want to bring them on just like that. So you get that little crisscross. Hold on to that. And match it on the other side with 2 more. So again, the way I think about it is I just get these two peas to face each other like that. Put that on. That one on, and then grab a dangle. Throw that dangle on there. And secure your jump ring and close it. There you go. So there's a segment done. Open up your next gem. And for that one, string on the other side of those peas. And just take a look at it as you do, making sure they line up like that. Closing that. And there's our whole first segment ready to go. So let's repeat one more together, and then I feel like we'll have it pretty much figured out. So for the next one, you want to link, which actually I think I was going to go that way, I think. For the next one, open up the other side of your simple loop. And then once again, get those 2 to face each other like that. String on one, the other, and close. Okay. Jump ring. And then just making sure I string those in the right direction. There we go. And then just kind of hold that for a second. 2 more. Make sure those are facing each other like that. 1 and 2. And a dangle. Close that up. And then another gem. There you go. So you can really see it now. It's really coming together here. So let's bring our necklace over. And we'll set that right here. And let's add 2 jump rings. I'm going to bring that down just a little more. Let's put 2 jump rings here. Start with the top one. And I want to show you how to get that dangle to stay on the front. So we'll attach here. So you just want to put an extra jump ring at the bottom of that chain so far. And now open another one. And for this one, what I did was I started with the component and then take that opportunity to dangle a charm. And if you want to switch the colors, I actually switched colors on each side to kind of indirectly cross each other. So like green to blue, blue to green. So now I'm going to join that jump ring to that jump ring. And we'll close that. Okay. So pretty. I just like staring at it. All right, so right here at the top, I'm going to link my last 2 together with a jump ring. Just keeping them in that same configuration so they stay right next to each other. And then just grab another length of chain or create a couple more lengths of jump rings, whichever looks more beautiful. I kind of wish I had done that because my chain's a little dark. It's kind of old. It's been in my stash a while. It's all antiqued and everything. But I think it's still really pretty. But you could always make your own and they would match exactly. Or you could just take this chain out a little longer if you feel like you want to add length that way. But I think this looks pretty cute. Just like that. So there's the end and beautiful chain. And there's our gorgeous design. So it's such a beautiful fall piece. It has definitely got that kind of mystical feeling to it. And I once heard that in any kind of like shape like this with horseshoes or crescents, that it's best of luck to hang them with their open to the top like a cup to catch all of the good luck. I think that I've heard that relative to horseshoes, but I think it could work here too. So maybe we can call it the luck catcher pendant. And yeah, so that's how you do that. And it's really easy, isn't it? Really fun. Let's try it on. So here's our gorgeous design. Isn't it cool? I love holding it up and looking at it. It's just really came out really nicely. And the links usually situate themselves pretty well. If you notice anywhere where they're just kind of a little bit overlapping on themselves, like with any chain, you have to kind of unkink the chain a little bit, but it definitely doesn't do that as much as other chains. So I think it's really, really nice in that way. And I'm just going to try it on. And I'm liking that I gave it an adjustable length. So yeah, this looks really cool. And I could make that, I could wear it a little longer. I have this linked at like a higher link on the chain here at the back. So I could wear it even higher if I or lower if I wanted to. So yeah, there it is. very cool lucky pendant. I'm going to be calling it Good Luck for Fall because it just has all those cool fall vibes and catch all those leaves falling into it. It also kind of looks like a crescent moon to me. And so I was going to show you guys the link I have it on as far as where I linked it. And so I linked it almost like right like that at the back. So I had lots more links to go there that I could have. And in case I forgot to mention the little chain remnants that I added, I believe I forgot to mention how long I made those. I made them. They're 2.5 inches on each side. So I gave it an adjustable amount of length in that way. There it is. So pretty. So I hope that you enjoyed this, and I will see you for the next tutorial. And I hope you love all of your copper components and gems. Bye for now.